Welcome to the McAllister Report. We join John McAllister, top football evaluator, as he shares wisdom and interviews coaches and athletes from around the country. Enjoy today's podcast.
This is John McAllister with the John McAllister Report. Today, my guest is the head football coach at Ohio University, Tim Albin. He's going into his third year. He's been on the staff there since, I think, 2005 with Frankie Solich. Took over the head job 2 years ago. Had a tough first season. He got the job in July. And the next year, this past year in 2022, he finished the season at 10-4 with a 7-1 mark in the MAC conference. Tim gives a lot of advice, a lot of insight, not only to the Ohio University football program, but he talks about what it takes. He talks about to be a college player, what they look for. He talks about the NIL a little bit. He talks about the transfer portal a little bit, just a little bit. And I thought it was really informative. So if you sit back and enjoy my video podcast with Tim Albin, head football coach of the Ohio University Bobcats. Today, my guest is Tim Albin, the head football coach at Ohio University. Finished his second year, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Give me an idea how the first year went. Second year, I'm sorry. I'm going to come back to the first year, but tell me about this past year.
Yeah, obviously it was a outstanding year, a lot of fun. I could not be more proud of a organization, program, staff, and players as far as their time commitment and level of just hard work, and believing in each other. I said I was very clear with my message to the media in MAC Media Days in August or July, I should say, that, hey, I thought this team could go on a championship run.
Wow.
And, I said that. I mean, you can look it up. Did I not say I thought we could win 10 games but I thought we could get to, 8 and see where we're at. If we could stay healthy, still a game or two on the road, and get to Detroit. Absolutely. I did, and so I'm not surprised by the run that we went on. And, but again, back to this program and the staff and the players, they just come to work and remain to be a one game at a time outfit and let us correct mistakes. The staff kept raising the bar each week. They kept responding, and we were able to get a lot of things accomplished.
That's really good. I'll tell you, there are two ways to look at that. I know your staff you inherited was almost complete. You didn't make any changes, and that's really good. And the flip side of that is you didn't have to, but sometimes new coaches come in and the staff doesn't buy in to what you're doing because you've been with all those guys. I haven't explained that very well, but it's hard. Sometimes, not in your case. I would tell you, you're a little bit like me. I did some homework on Tim. When I took one head football job, I went from the penthouse to the outhouse. Okay. One first year, the third head job I took, first year 7-3, next year 0-10. So I went from the penthouse to the outhouse, from mayor to kick him out. You, even back in 1999, when you were an NAI champ, that team you had was 13-0 your last year, your third year, and you started out kind of tough, but you won a national championship. And I think with OU, the first year, we shouldn't talk about, what were you, 3-5?
And we were 3-5 in our conference, I believe, and then 3-9 overall. That first year.
And I wrote down first losing season since 2008. Oh man! So, but last year you come back and you end up what, 10-4,
Yes,
7-1 in the conference or something like that, and the first championship since 2016, or the first division. So I'm hitting all those numbers. My point is going to be, you get that first year and then you've really done well the second year. And that goes back to coaching and staff and everything like that. Well, tell me, Coach, about the staff. You're complete with that. What about the recruiting staff? How has that been?
Yeah, I tell you that, as you mentioned there, John, I took over in mid-July,
Right.
and it's like, I've been the head coach for, I don't know, about 17 or 18 months total, but it's 2 seasons, as you said. And so there wasn't really any staff changes. And now we had a couple of guys retire after my first year. I replaced it with Spence Nowinski, our defensive coordinator, John Hauser, that I've known for many years, Spence for double-digit years. Those guys have made an immediate impact on our staff. I think John Hauser, he's from the Columbus area. He's probably the best recruiter I've ever been around. Very thorough, very likable. Players love him. They trust him. And I think Spence Nowinski is the best in the business as far as getting the best 11 guys on the field and getting packages for guys and their skill set. Huge for us on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, my first year we hired Tyler Tittleton to replace me. He left after last season to go. He's the assistant quarterback coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. As I'm wearing, he sent me a shirt in the mail. I'm actually wearing a Jag shirt today. That he had sent me in the mail. But Tyler chose to go back to the NFL. We hired Brian Smith. Brian Smith was the former offensive coordinator at Washington State. He's a West Coast guy. Wow. His DNA is run shoot. He has helped us enormously in the passing game with Curtis Rourke and his numbers. I can contribute a lot of that to Brian Smith. So staff wise, I got to touch on what you said about the staff buying in, and those guys damn sure did that, John. And it shows. It's shown this past year with our record.
Well, I liked it well enough. I went up to see you play at Detroit. Now we won't talk about that anymore because that was a tough loss.
No, I tell you what, Jason Candle's one of my good friend. Yeah. He's done an unbelievable job. He's got a great football team. They were really good on defense, and that quarterback is electric. But I got to tip my hat to Jason and his staff and what they got done last year.
And you didn't have your starting quarterback. Okay, period. Let's go to something else now. I got the last word on that. It was a good game as it was.
Yes.
Played hard and a good turnout, fans and all those things. But that's over. Now you're ready to go. Talked about spring practice. Tell me real quick, Tim, spring practice, tell me about it. People, what do you go through in spring practice? Just a second on it. You don't have to spend much time.
Yeah, I'll keep it real brief. The number one thing we've got to do in this spring is continue to develop our depth. That is a top priority. Yeah, we got to adjust some schemes and do things better, but we have got to develop our depth. So, because as you know, all programs go through some injuries, and it's next man up mentality. Yeah. And so we've got some really good young guys in the program right now. We got extra week of practice with the MAC championship game, and we got to a bowl game, and the bowl game was later. Yeah. So we were able to have kind of another spring practice in the month of December in preparation for that bowl game. So we got a great jump on that developing of the depth of our program, and we have to take it to the next level this spring.
And develop those front seven on defense. I'm not so sure the front five aren't the most important, but Man, that's what I think a lot of schools that are really good, they have the depth on defensive line.
Yes, sir.
You can just run those guys through. Okay, I wanted to talk about, well, the one thing about spring practice too, when I was a kid, all they did is hit and find out who. That's all they did is hit. Now it's the other way around for the. I mean, most part, you still do a lot of teaching though, and you know who hits and doesn't hit. So if you can develop kids, that just what you said, I think it's all a step in the right direction as far as where we're going with that.
You're right. I think it's a great point. You got to limit the number of hits. Just scrimmaging all the time. Those days are over.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan, and so it's just a different time, and you better adjust to it.
And if you don't adjust to it, you'll be pumping gas someplace.
It's that. Yeah, I always say I call it the dinosaur theory. It got cold on planet Earth, and they did not adapt very well. And guess what?
I totally agree, and I heard Bill Sells say out of Kansas. I heard him say a couple of years ago, times have changed, and if we don't change somewhat with it and modify, we're done. Coaches, I think there's some truth to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I wanted to hit real quick on for the kids that watch this, I want to bring my son down to spring practice, or he wants to go. Okay, what's the procedure real quick to do that?
Sure. We have got some literature out there, a couple, I'm sure graphic. We were at the state clinic last week. I think I saw you there. I saw you there in Columbus and didn't get a chance to get over and talk to you, but you walked by. But we've got the dates posted. So what you do is reach out to our director of recruiting, Kyle Pollock, and let him know that you want to come to catch a practice. We here at Ohio University, we go every Tuesday, Thursday mornings, and then Saturday mid mornings. Right. It's kind of our schedule. And so we've got them all mapped out, and recruits and their families are welcome to come watch. But you start by reaching out to Kyle Pollock and getting on our list, and we get you a parking pass and let you come in and watch the Bobcats go through a workout.
That's really good. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
I think going to spring practice is huge, because you really see how big those guys are. You see how fast those guys are. If you're getting recruited, but then you watch how their position coach, how he is, how he treats his players, and you watch how the head coach.
Yeah, I think you're giving some very, very valuable information there, John. Because I say this all the time is, you go visit somewhere, an official visit or unofficial, whatever, and the coach can put on a jacket and tie, sit behind his desk, and be somebody totally different. Yeah. You go watch a practice. You come and watch us practice, and somebody can't go out there and be somebody different. You go watch a practice, you can see that position coach and how he is with his players, how the team is around each other, the respect piece of this, and it's not you can see through a lot of the recruiting stuff. That you get on the Zoom call, you can be somebody totally different. So I really that's one of our strong points, because we are as transparent and sincere as we possibly can. We're demanding, but we're not demeaning with our athletes.
Good.
And so I'm on board with what you're saying, John, for sure.
That's really good, Coach. Not you're demanding, but not demeaning.
There you go.
And that's another thing that's changed.
Yes, sir.
And it should have changed, And
yep.
I was a Woody Hayes disciple, so I got to be careful what I say. I'll be two-faced. Okay, for camps, while we're on the same thing with camps, what's the best thing to do for football camps?
I think, Ohio University, we'll have a camp. I'm not sure if we've set a date. Right. It'll be early June, and then the NCAA allows each program to have either 10 camps or go visit. You got 10 of them to go to. All right. And so obviously our staff will be out at different camps. We'll have one on our campus. We usually get around 275 athletes on campus, which is great. I would, from the other side of the table, a parent, and they want to take their son to the camps. You got to be careful, because you could conceivably go to a different camp every day in the month of June. And you can't do that. Your body will not hold up. You're putting your senior year at risk, or your junior year at risk. You're putting your teammates at risk, because if you're injured due to a camp, because your body wears out. So you're gonna have to pick and choose. Okay, I like this school, this school, this school. They're all going to be at the Cincinnati camp, or they're all going to be at the Ohio State camp. Or, you're going to have to pick and choose which ones you want to go to. And I would strongly encourage it to work with your high school coach and get your camp schedule. And you've got to have days off in between those camps. You just got to be careful, because your body can only take so much of what happens during those camps. And you put yourself at risk of injury.
Hi, my goodness. And we'll go, kids should flip that back and listen to it again.
Yes, sir.
But I've watched quarterbacks, and they're just, it's just the velocity is going, and their dads will say, well, his arm isn't very good today because he's been to 6 camps and throwing. I said, well, that Coach Albin, he doesn't know that. So all he sees is what you're doing. And I had a dad just brag to me 3 days ago. He sent me a text and he said, well, we've got 8 to 10 camps lined up. And the kid's a linebacker, the boy. I said, he's going to be so tired. But anyway, that's really great. It's good. Tell me, stuff goes so fast. Tell me about, what do you coach? I bring you, no, it's one of your assistant coaches, quarterback coach. Tell me his name.
Scott Isfording.
Scott.
Yeah.
He brings you a player. What tangibles? He said, Coach, I really like this guy. Scott says, I really like this guy. What are you looking for in that player?
Yeah, the first thing is toughness. He's got to show toughness on film. Whether does that mean he's got to have a big hit? He just got to be tough, and that's at any position. I mean, it's easy to see a big hit and those types of things, but you can run the ball tough. You can finish blocks tough. Hey, he's battled. You like for a coach to say he battled through this injury-wise, And so the toughness piece is the number one. Is the first thing. But first box is checked for the Bobcats. Second thing is going to be smart guys get better. The academic piece. I mean, they got to love football. All right, and I think if you're tough, you got to love the sport. If you're reaching all your potential in the academic piece of this, you love football. You find a way. All right, those two things go hand in hand. Loving football and being tough. The academics are the academics. I just think that to play this game, it takes such unbelievable sacrifice, right? And if you don't love it and you're doing it because of this or that, it's just, those kind of guys away from the facility struggle. Yeah. They're in between the walls in the facility, we're rolling. But there's so many hours outside the facility, and that athlete has got to be bought in, all the time. And so that's the biggest piece for us.
That's good. And when you were talking about that, I've talked to he went to Michigan, and he's from Ohio. I talked to him a year ago, from a small town. He said, Mr. McAllister, he said, in high school, we'd practice in the morning, go home for lunch, and then come back and practice in the afternoon and maybe at night. But he said, we'd always go home and relax a little bit. He said, we get here at 7:30 in the morning and we leave at 10:30 at night. Right. Talk about loving it. And there's just such a difference between loving it and liking it.
Yes, sir. That's very well said.
So one of 2 more things. Let's talk, and I talk about the NIL as much as you can say.
Yeah.
And it will ruin football if they don't change it. College football. Talk about that just for a minute, Tim.
I get a couple of things that I could talk for hours on it.
Right.
There's so many scenarios.
Right.
The intent of it is a good thing. All right. And I'm behind it. But there's no governing. There's nothing. There's no rules. It's the term of Wild Wild West really where it's at. So back to, I can't fix. I don't have the answers. I just know that there's what the problems are right now. And Ohio University, we've been, as I said here today, it's had some impact, but not like on some programs. I will say that. Okay. I am all for the collegiate athlete to make money the right way. Now just to be offering guys money and they haven't played it down and they're changing rosters every year and all the things that you see on ESPN.com, those are tough to swallow. I don't like the direction. It's a bad look. A lot of lessons in there that I don't think are good lifelong lessons.
And what it hurts is the kids that maybe get $1,000. I'm being serious. Get $1,000 from a local car dealership in Athens or Nelsonville for $1,000. Say, hey, all you have to do is come up and drive my car around or stand here and talk. $1,000, boy, what's $1,000 to a football player in the MAC is a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Maybe not to the starting quarterback at Texas or some of those guys. And I hate to see him use it as a bargaining chip. And I think that's coming. It's just, again, the intent of the rule is good, but it's not. People aren't using it that way. Or I read about a girl, and I don't want to get off on this, but I read about a girl down in Kentucky, a high school girl. A car dealer, she was a gymnast. A car dealer gave her like $100 or $500 to do some flips on an advertisement. Says, yeah, you're going to flip over these car deals. And, it's $500. I know every prices, but still, I'm so adamant. Like I'm getting all carried away here, but it's just so adamant. And tell me the transfer rule. That's the other thing. And then we'll call it a day. What's the transfer? How does that affect you?
Yeah, it's been really for Ohio University at this point in time, as I said here, it's been used as a benefit. And I mean this by what I'm saying here. We had a young man after last year. He graduated with a degree, Ohio University, and he is a backup player. And he says, Coach, I want to go have a chance to start. And we return the guy that I can't beat out. Yeah. And he was in tears. I was in tears. He's a Bobcat for life. I said, you're going to bring your children back here because he wants to go start. That's the intent of it. All right. I'll use Sam Wiglis, Ohio, played at Ohio State, graduated from Ohio State. He's behind 3 first-round draft picks at receiver. He wants to get on the field. So we obviously recruited Sam. He chose Ohio. He's a starter for us and is the first team all league. Point is, same thing with Sam. I lost guys that want to go start.
Yeah.
Okay. We've gotten Sam Wiglis to come in because he's also wants to start, and he dropped down a level to do that. Could he start it somewhere else in the Big Ten? I think so. He's really good. But my point is, the transfer thing. It's for those types of situations. It's not for to change 2 and 3 times. Eventually you're going to have to. The Joe Burrow's great example. All right. Haskins had a great year. All right. Joe wasn't the starter. He graduated and went to OSU, and we'll know the story there. Yeah. All right. It's for those types of situations to get on the field. It's not for, I want to make money. I'm going to not graduate from here and go here and go here. That's where it can, it's teaching not great life lessons.
Right. And again, like I said earlier, they're abusing the intent of the rule or the thing. And I think it's a good rule, but just like you said, Coach, but in the other one, speaking from McAllister, from my point of view, say if a player and one of the position coaches just don't get it, and he's told him things, behind the scenes and said, you'll never play and all this stuff. And that happens. Bad marriages sometimes.
Yeah.
Same thing happens. But then he chooses to leave. And I don't think there's any problem with that.
Yep. I agree.
And it's like he's talking about backup quarterbacks. And I heard these guys say, Oh, stay with it. Stay with it. What if Joe Burrow stayed another year at Ohio State? Stay with it, Joe. You'll get your chance. That's okay. Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time. We're 25 minutes almost, and it's just so good to talk all these things. And I think it's there. I try to hit on a little bit of everything, and I think we have. Okay, you have a minute to sell Ohio University. You're leaving the locker room. The last thing the head coach says to the team, but what are you going to say to people? Your last commenting on Ohio University.
Yeah, that's an easy one. It's a total. We're a total package. I said we got a very, very demanding staff, but they're not demeaning in how they do it. Our players trust our staff. We serve their hearts, not their talents, and that shows you. This past year's team, John, we had over 30 guys that played in that bowl game with at least 1 degree. 30 already a degree in hand. Overall GPA of 120 guys of a 2.94 overall GPA. Over 53 players with a 3.0 or higher GPA in the fall, juggling football and college.
Right.
All right. So the academic piece of this, when I say what's our target in that bowl game against Wyoming, 15 starters were in a radius of 5 hours from campus. We draw a tank. Tim Albin calls it tank of gas recruiting. You get in a car, you drive a full tank of gas, gets you about 5 hours, and we draw a circle, a 5 hour radius, and we better know every player in that circle. That's where we start. Now, not our entire team's not from in that circle, right, but a major majority of those guys are in that circle. So on game days here, why are we number one in attendance? Because their aunt and uncles and grandmas and parents and friends can get in their car and drive down here and experience Ohio University. And so there's a lot of things to sell here. I know it's Southeast Ohio, but our kids graduate. You don't have those numbers that I just told you academically without recruiting tough, smart guys, and they go hand in hand.
That's really good. Just so you know, and I've told you every time I see you, I put 2 kids through OU, and
yes,
one
sir.
of them a master's degree got. So you really owe me money because I put up money in that place. Coach, thank you very much. I'm excited. I'm going to have to get down to spring practice and watch it. I want to do more of that this year. I'm getting slower in what I do, so I want to get down and relax and have some fun.
That's great, John. You're always welcome, and let me know if you shoot me a text or whatever. And lunch is on me.
Okay, thanks, Coach, very much. Okay.